people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this. Last night in the women's light flyweight division in Laval, Canada, north of the border, Kim Clavel and Jessica Plata battled it out for what are 2 of the 4 alphabet titles in the women's light flyweight division.
Jessica was able to beat Kim on her own home turf, her own home soil. Let's talk about what we saw. Let's talk about what happened.
In the opening round, we saw a very proactive, a very aggressive Kim Clavel, closing the distance and closing the gap, being the busier fighter of the two. Busy with the jab.
She's honestly busier than I thought she'd be, more aggressive than I thought she'd be, and that's what I think backfired.
She fought the wrong fight against the more experienced and bigger puncher. Nevertheless, on activity, I gave Kim Clavel the opening round, the first round, good combinations towards the tail end of the round.
I gave Kim the first round. I gave Jessica the second. The second round was a bit of a tough round to score for me.
Somewhat hard to separate them because you saw a lot of activity from Kim Clavel, though her punches didn't seem to faze Jessica, whereas Jessica's punches were so obviously the more eye-catching punches, the heavier shots.
It became evident early on that Jessica is the far bigger puncher of the two.
Thus, I gave Jessica the second round, and I knew that going in. I knew that if power, the edge in power, were going to go to anyone, it would go to Jessica. Thus, it didn't behoove Kim Clavel to spend too much time in the pocket, but that's what she did.
That's not what I expected.
I gave Kim Clavel the first round and Jessica Plata the second round and the third. Cleaner punches. Kim,
She was trying to go blow for blow with Jessica in the pocket.
that was her biggest mistake ahead of this fight. I don't know, I figured that Kim would use her other attributes, her other assets, her mobility, her agility, her head movement, upper body movement.
Counters her speed, whereas in the actual fight, more often than not, Kim kept trying to turn this into a war that she couldn't win.
I gave the second and third rounds to Jessica. I gave the fourth round to Kim Clavel. Gave it to her by a hair. She showed better movement in that round, but
She was still spending far too much time in the pocket for me. Whenever Jessica landed a shot, you could see it, whereas Kim Clavel, she could get off 3 and 4 punches, and they didn't seem to faze Jessica.
draw score after 4, 2 rounds to 2 for both champions. 3 rounds to 2 after 5. I gave Kim Clavel the 5th round in what was a competitive round, a round where Jessica drew blood, bloodying Kim, but Kim battled back hard.
At least enough, I thought, to nick the round. I had Kim Clavel up by a point after 5 rounds.
Very bloodied and battered Kim Clavel up after 5 rounds, though all the same. I gave her the 5th round. Didn't really know who to give the 6th round in real time. Didn't really know who to give the 6th round in the moment.
It was a competitive round. At least to me, it looked like one of those rounds to where it just boiled down to what you like. Kim Clavel's activity or Jessica's eye-catching punches, eye-catching shots, which were, by that time, well established as being the heavier, more damaging shots.
Heavier punches, one of those instances where a fighter is perhaps too brave for their own good. Kim Clavel was too willing, too eager to trade blows, too eager to get into exchanges, and it really backfired.
The 6th round, at least for me, was a swing round, but you could easily have swung that round to Jessica.
I want to say perhaps the reason that Kim Clavel wanted to play Jessica so close to the chest is because maybe she thought if Jessica can get full extension on her arm, full extension on her punches, well, there's going to be that much more power on them. Thus, she might want to smother her, crowd her, invade the pocket where her punches...
Where Jessica won't have as much room to throw her punches and drive her punches. That logic, however, it wasn't sound. It backfired.
Those short hooks, mid-range to inside, those short left hooks from Jessica Plata had a lot to do with that. I gave the 7th round to Jessica. Kim was busier, but
Jessica was better overall, and more effective.
gave the 8th round to Kim Clavel, who was showing cleaner work throughout the majority of the round, though worse for wear.
That's saying that for the majority of the round, Kim was showing the cleaner work and better movement of the two, though she was bloodied by this time.
But I gave Kim Clavel the 8th. I gave Jessica the 9th.
Because a lot happened in that round, because it was a competitive round, at least for me it looked like a swing round, but I swung it to Jessica.
And I gave the 10th and final round to Kim Clavel. She was busy and would not be bullied. She was still willing to trade, still willing to get into exchanges, even though it was ill-advised. My final tally was a draw score. 5 rounds to 5, even with the swing rounds that I swung to Jessica.
The actual judges' scorecards, they didn't give Kim Clavel all the consideration that I gave her, her activity.
2 of the 3 judges had it a bit wider than I did, in favor of Jessica Neri Plata.
My own card bore more semblance to John Madfis's card,
with the noticeable difference being that he scored the 1st and 8th rounds for Jessica, whereas I gave those rounds to Kim Clavel.
Kim's mistake here, her biggest mistake, was she was gunning for a war, a bigger war than she bargained for. She couldn't match Jessica's power.
It was a valiant effort, but she simply fought the wrong fight. She certainly didn't fight the fight that I expected her to. I expected her to
move and punch, counter, sharpshoot.
I expected her to be a little bit more tricky, more elusive, and not as straightforward. And I don't know, maybe it was Jessica's height and her reach that made it difficult for Kim to manage the distance,
to get within striking distance of Jessica safely, and maybe that's what threw her off. Adjustments need to be made.
I want to say that this was a Fight of the Year candidate. I want to say that here, at the very beginning of 2023, we have our first entrant for Fight of the Year, because they left it all out there.
Kim's got nothing to be ashamed of. Losses happen.
Though it was a valiant effort, congratulations to the newly crowned Unified Light Flyweight Champion of Mexico, Jessica Neri Plata, and we'll talk more about the fallout from this fight moving forward in another video. In men's heavyweight news, Malik Scotch expressed frustration. They're getting sick of Joshua talks. We've been chasing Hearn.
I thought that by now it was well established that Deontay Wilder would not be Anthony Joshua's next fight.
We've known this for weeks now. He very recently addressed Eddie Hearn's comments that Anthony could face Deontay later on this year by saying, yeah, when it has to do with the interview and verbally saying it, but I don't believe physically they want to fight Deontay Wilder. In the interview, it's a good sales pitch. Why would they see, we don't want to fight Deontay? That's a horrible marketing job. They have to go with the flow and say, we'll fight. I'm sure it's going to happen, but how long has that been said? It's just been so much crap, I'm really sick of it.
Ahead of the Robert Helenius fight, Eddie Hearn got in contact with Shelly Finkel, and that's confirmed by Shelly Finkel himself. He emailed him about starting talks for a fight between them.
And in so many words, what Team Wilder told Eddie Hearn is that they're busy.
So that now when Anthony Joshua is trying to schedule his own rebound fight the same way you did, you want to hit the gas?
Shelly Finkel has been basically chasing Eddie Hearn and trying to get this fight done, going about it publicly that he wants to get it done, showing emails that he wants to get it done. I really just believe it's their side.
What I believe is that we're set for another rousing round of a smear campaign levied against Anthony Joshua when he already tried to get in contact with you people.
And if you don't want to believe it from Eddie Hearn, you don't have to, because that information came to us by way of Shelly Finkel himself.
These are games. Stupid fucking games.
I'm to the point now that I'm thinking it's a Joshua thing, because to me, the fighter has the responsibility to rave for the fight.
So why weren't you raving for the Anthony Joshua fight after Fury beat you for the second time?
Why didn't Shelly respond to Eddie's emails then? Why did Deontay Wilder say, in his own words, we're busy?
Play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
This is all confirmed, and this is all verbatim. You wait until he starts shopping around for a new trainer, and they're in the process of pinning down a new opponent, so you can start acting.
So you can start acting like you've been chomping at the bit for this fight. So you can start acting like it's been you who's been trying to make it all this time.
Laying the blame at the feet of Anthony Joshua, laying the blame at the feet of Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn, who says Joshua's ring return is targeted for April 1st in London, but he will train in the United States. He is going to train in America, and he will start that camp in the next week, Hearn said on the DAZN Boxing Show on Monday, this past Monday. He'll be flying out. You guys will get the news soon. Like I said, AJ's his own man, and something like that, announcing his new trainer, is for him to confirm once he's happy to confirm it. Hearn said the working date for the Star Charge's next fight is April in London. An opponent has not been announced, but some reports have suggested that Australian heavyweight Dempsey McKean will get the nod. April 1st is the targeted date in London, Hearn said. Really, I have a call today to go through the final list of opponents, the final, bits and pieces around the date. We're almost ready. Really, he's excited. And there were talks of unbeaten up-and-coming southpaw Australian heavyweight Dempsey McKean, but
more recent reports seem to indicate that it's not going to be him.
Yes, I'm happy with the trainer, Hearn said. I'm happy with anybody that makes AJ feel comfortable, makes him feel motivated, makes him feel excited. And I think this is going to be a nice break. Hearn also thinks the change in locale will be a big boon to Joshua's preparation. The problem is, being in the UK, he can't breathe, Hearn said. When he goes to America, people still know who he is, but it's just a different world. Can you imagine that Anthony Joshua, where he's going to be training, can rent a house or stay in a hotel and can go for a walk and go and sit in the coffee shop and have a bit of breakfast and a bit of coffee with some friends? And yeah, someone might come over and go, AJ man, how you doing? But literally, that is an impossibility in the UK. He can go to the mall and have a nice stroll around and pop into Foot Locker and just be normal. Like, live a normal life that people should be allowed to do. It's just a pressure cooker. It's a pressure cooker. But he's that guy because he's that ambassador, because he's that role model.
A change in decorum is just what the doctor ordered. I happen to think that myself.
Training where you live, having trained where you live for so long, it may not yield the same result that training on foreign soil might yield, because if you're on foreign soil, you already know why you're there, and it's not for leisure.
It's business.
That in and of itself might help to keep his eyes on the ball. Eyes on the target. The fact that he's not in his own neck of the woods anymore. It's like you don't realize how much that's going to drain you when you're doing 2 or 3 sessions a day. I think it's going to be really good for him. I really feel like you're going to see a reinvigorated Anthony Joshua in April, and I can't wait to see him back.
There are always double standards associated with Anthony Joshua and most every other fighter. Deontay Wilder was at liberty not that long ago to tell Eddie Hearn, we're busy.
Shelley Finkel was at liberty to state publicly that Eddie emailed him about starting talks for the fight, but he ignored him.
Nobody bats an eyelash.
And this was all ahead of the Robert Helenius fight. All this goes on in full view of the public, and nobody bats an eyelash.
Let Anthony do the exact same thing for the exact same reasons that Wilder did it, and Malik Scotch is going to go to the media and start telling everybody Eddie's running from us.
He's running from Shelley Finkel. Anthony Joshua's running from Deontay Wilder. I'll tell you what.
What?
If you're going to go as far as classifying that as running, then you ran first.
Maybe they're desperate.
Maybe it's not even a smear campaign. Maybe they look across the landscape over there on PBC Island, just what exactly their options are. They see that the Ruiz fight is really the only high-profile fight over there, and they don't want to waste their time with that.
Not if they have a choice.
Not if they can fight Anthony instead in what would undoubtedly be a much bigger fight, a global event, whereas Wilder versus Ruiz in America, I mean, it's a decent-sized fight, but nowhere near the same scale as a Joshua fight. Maybe that's why they're so eager.
Desperate.
Anthony Joshua's a few years younger than Deontay. Deontay's pushing 40. He ain't got all the time in the world.
So they're campaigning for the fight to happen sooner than later, even if it makes them look like hypocrites, because they came to you first, and you said you were busy.
So now you're gonna cry when they say the same thing to you? So now you're gonna cry when they put you on the back burner, the way you put them on the back burner?
Nobody likes their own medicine.
Team Wilder just have to wait. It's as simple as that.
Whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, whether Malik Scotch likes it or not, they have to wait.
They have to wait. Anthony's currently ranked number 5 with the WBO, number 5 with the IBF, number 5 with the WBC, and number 4 with the WBA. Earlier this week, reports ruled out unbeaten Australian up-and-comer Dempsey McKean as his next opponent choice, and
The name of Sean Franklin, American up-and-comer Sean Franklin, who just shared the ring with Dillian White. Dillian gave him his first professional loss.
the name of Sean Franklin has emerged as a front-runner for Anthony Joshua's next fight. Mixed feelings. I feel ambivalent because, Sean's coming off a loss.
On paper he is, even though some people immediately after the fight, they felt that Sean Franklin did enough to win it.
It's what they were saying then. Their tune could soon change. If Anthony ends up sharing the ring with this guy, they'll start criticizing that fight.
I think the true value of a Sean Franklin fight is if Anthony can create clear separation between his performance opposite the ring, that guy, and what we just saw with Dillian White.
When he shared the ring with that guy, and it went to the cards, them fighting to a decision. If Anthony can go in there and get this guy out of there early, that would create separation, and that would be the true value of such a match.
But like I said, there are still going to be critics.
I haven't changed my original position. I still feel that Otto Wallin, Swedish southpaw Otto Wallin, who shared the ring with Tyson Fury a few fights ago, I feel he's the optimal choice because in sharing the ring with Tyson Fury, he left a lasting impression. He gave Tyson Fury all he could handle, and he has since rebounded off that decision loss to Tyson Fury. If Anthony can go in there with that guy and spark him out,
Sends more of a message than sparking out Sean Franklin comparatively.
most world-level guy that Sean Franklin's shared the ring with is Dillian White. So what are you trying to prove by fighting Sean? That you're a better fighter than Dillian? You already did that when you fought him years ago.
Whoever he fights, it's going to get attention. Whoever he fights...
So many people, so many fighters, so many of their teams spend so much time trying to deny Anthony Joshua's marquee value, his drawing power,
Yet he's all anybody can talk about. Who's gonna train him? Where's he gonna fight? When's he gonna fight?
Tyson Fury wanted him, Wilder wants him, Wallin wants him.
Pretty sure both Dillian White and Jarrell Miller still want him.
Yet so many people spend so much of their time trying to deny the impact that this one fighter, this singular fighter, has had on not just the UK boxing scene, but the heavyweight division overall, and how much more attention it's getting now than what it got in the Klitschko era.
And you know that Deontay Wilder's from the Klitschko era. He debuted in 2008.
He was around for most of it, yet it seems like people didn't start talking about him till circa 2016, 2017, right around the time Anthony Joshua was reaching the height of his popularity. It's not a coincidence.
Deontay Wilder was around for something like 7 or 8 years. The Americans didn't notice. They weren't behind him.
They didn't start paying attention to him till they saw how much attention Anthony Joshua was getting and how much...
Wasn't it the Americans that were saying the heavyweight division was dead?
The whole of the Klitschko era. That's what the Americans were saying. Well, you do realize that Deontay Wilder, a sizable portion of his career took place right there in that era.
7 or 8 years of it did.
Don't let facts get in the way of your distorted view of heavyweight boxing in the postmodern era. And now Anthony might end up fighting anyone from Otto Wallin to Sean Franklin.
You know, Wilder's got Andy Ruiz right there. He's got Andy Ruiz right there on his side of the street. But who's he focusing on?
And what's he talking about? That's an easy in-house fight to make.
But whose name do they keep bringing up?
Anthony should tell them all to just go fuck themselves, and he'll get to them when he gets to them.